In the kingdom of Osamare, nestled between the bend of a great river and the shadow of a sleeping mountain, the very earth was alive. It was a land where clay hummed with ancient songs and the hands of a potter could shape not just vessels, but destinies. At the heart of this vibrant kingdom ruled King Ade, a monarch whose wisdom was as deep as the river and whose heart was as steadfast as the mountain. But his reign, prosperous and peaceful, was about to be unsettled by a love as beautiful and fragile as the finest pottery. It was during the annual Festival of Creations that he first saw her. Her name was Amara, a village potter whose hands moved with a grace that seemed to mesmerize the very clay she worked. While others presented ornate, jewel-encrusted works to the king, Amara offered a simple, unadorned water jug. Yet, as King Ade reached for it, he felt a strange, resonant energy, a whisper of stories locked within the earth from which it was formed. The king, captivated, visited her humble workshop at the edge of the capital. Dust motes danced in the afternoon light, and the air was thick with the scent of wet earth and firing kills. He watched, silent and enthralled, as Amara's fingers coaxed life from a lump of gray clay. A bowl, a vase, a statuette. Each piece she finished seemed to pulse with a faint, inner light, containing a secret only she and the earth knew. King Ade, accustomed to the rigid formalities of the court, found solace in the simple, profound magic of her craft. He began to visit her daily, bringing not gifts of gold or silk, but rare pigments and stories from his travels. He spoke of distant lands and starry skies, and she, in turn, told him the tales the clay whispered to her, of forgotten histories and the quiet rhythms of the world. A deep and undeniable affection bloomed between them. The king saw in Amara a spirit as resilient and true as the fired earth, a soul that held the kingdom's true essence. And Amara saw in the king not a ruler, but a man with a gentle heart who understood the language of her hands. He fell in love with her, with the quiet strength in her eyes and the way her touch could shape the most mundane material into something extraordinary. But Amara harbored a secret, a sorrowful legacy passed down through her maternal line. It was a curse, ancient and cruel. While her hands could give life to clay, her touch held a devastating power over things of great material value. Anything forged of precious metal, gold, silver, bronze, would, upon her sustained touch, lose its luster, its form, its very being, crumbling into worthless, shimmering dust. She had lived her life in careful isolation, her creations her only companions, her curse a constant, silent guardian against intimacy. She had never worn jewelry, never held a coin for too long, never dared to touch the gleaming symbols of wealth and power that defined the world outside her workshop. How could she, the woman whose touch was ruin, ever stand beside a king adorned in a golden crown and sovereign rings? The king, oblivious to her burden, saw only the woman he loved. One evening, as the sun bled orange and purple across the sky, he presented her with a gift. It was a delicate bracelet, intricately wrought from the purest gold, fashioned to resemble the winding river that nourished their kingdom. It was a symbol of his love, a promise of a future where she would be his queen. Tears welled in Amara's eyes. Her heart ached with a love she felt she could never fully accept and a fear that had shadowed her every day. With a trembling hand, she reached for the bracelet. She wanted, just for a moment, to feel its cool weight against her skin, to accept the future he was offering. But as her fingertips brushed against the gleaming gold, a faint, sickly gray began to creep across its surface. Horrified, she snatched her hand back, but it was too late. The king watched in stunned silence as the beautiful bracelet, a masterpiece of the royal goldsmith, tarnished, cracked, and disintegrated into a fine, glittering powder that scattered in the gentle evening breeze. The truth, now as undeniable as the dust at their feet, hung between them. Amara confessed everything, her voice choked with shame and despair. She told him of the ancestress who had angered a powerful earth spirit, and the resulting curse that had plagued the women of her family for generations. Her touch, which brought such life to the humble earth, was a blight upon the treasures men coveted. She was a paradox, a creator of beauty who carried destruction in her very skin. King Ade listened, his expression unreadable. The court, he knew, would never accept a queen with such a curse. a queen whose touch could turn the royal treasury, the very symbols of his power and the kingdom's wealth, to dust. His advisors would call her a bad omen, a danger to the stability of Osamare. His love for her was now pitted against the duty he owed his people. Yet, as he looked at Amara, standing amidst the remnants of his gift, her face a mask of misery, he did not see a curse. He saw the woman who had shown him that true value lay not in gold, but in the heart of his people, in the earth beneath their feet, in the stories shaped by knowing hands. He reached for her, not with a gift of metal, but with his bare hands. He took her hands, the hands of the potter, the hands of the curse, into his own. He felt no corruption, no crumbling decay. He felt only the warmth of her skin, the calloused fingers of a creator. At that moment, King Ade made a choice. He would not ask her to change. He would change the very definition of royalty. He declared that the true wealth of Osamare was not in its vaults, but in its soil and the skill of its people. His crown would not be of gold, but of intricately fired and painted clay, crafted by Amara's own hands. The symbols of their reign would be art, story, and the enduring earth, not the fleeting glitter of metal. The king who loved the village potter did not break her curse, but instead, he embraced it, proving to his kingdom that the most powerful touch was not one that held gold, but one that shaped a better world from the clay of the earth.